Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a Booktube expectation versus reality video. I've been on Booktube now for about a year and I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I've learned along the way because there's a lot of stuff that goes into making videos that is behind the scenes that you don't really get to see, so I wanted to show you in a video and give you some examples as I went along. So something that you might not know is that I usually film with my sound and my camera separately, so I'm really lucky that Dave, my partner, has a bunch of film gear already, so I'm using that with his help. And what happens then is that we've got audio to sync with the film that we film. So at the beginning of my videos, I often have to do a clap. Okay, so the reason that I use this clap noise, as funny as it looks, is because it basically is a stand-in for what this would be on a major film. This is the little clapper board and it does the clap for you, but I just use whatever I have literally on hand. That was a terrible pun, but I literally use what I have on hand, and that is just a clap when I film for sound and audio. You sync them on the part that they clap together, and from there you know that they're synced and you can then edit and you won't have my mouth moving when the sound is not keeping up or vice versa, and it looks nice and clean as you have seen in my edited videos. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is speaking, because I thought that I would just sit down in front of a camera, look directly down the barrel of it and say everything right the first time, and that is definitely not the case. I do have some B-roll footage that I'll just insert while I'm talking, but I'm always going to be staring off camera or thinking about something or reading my phone and looking at notes that I've written, because I usually script my videos. I scripted this video and it just kind of keeps me on track so that I know where to go next, rather than having to ad-lib everything and improv it and think of it while I'm talking to a camera, because talking to a camera is actually really daunting, and if you haven't done it before or you don't have someone behind the camera to talk to directly so you feel like you're talking to a person, it can be very scary, and that's what I found at the very beginning. If you watch one of my earlier videos, I wouldn't encourage you to, because I'm not as comfortable then as I am now, but if you watch one of those you'll definitely see a difference from when I'm talking then to when I'm talking now. And also a lot of my cuts when I edit now are a lot more clean. They're a lot longer and they're less jumpy because I can say more than a couple of words or a sentence. I can actually say run-on sentences now without stuffing up too much. But I usually stuff up, and that usually happens when I'm trying to describe something in detail that I find hard to capture. So I often stuff up when I'm talking about a plot of a book or the characters in a book, and that happened a lot in my Brandon Sanderson video. I reached to that video because it's a really easy example to use, because it's about 18 to 20 minutes long, and that was actually 2 hours of footage that I filmed on the day, and then I went and edited all that down to 18 minutes so that it's really compact. But I'll just insert some Alloy of Law footage for you for when I'm talking about a book by Brandon Sanderson. It's got no spoilers in it, but it basically just gives you an example of how much I stuff up and how many takes I do saying a particular name. So in the roughs he's known as Wax, but in Luthadel where he's returning he's known as Lord Waxilium. I always pronounce his name wrong. Anyway, in the roughs he's known as Wax, but when he's returning to Luthadel he is known as Lord Waxilium. Waxilium? Why can't I say his name? In the roughs he's known as Wax, but when he returns to Luthadel he is known as Ward Laxilum. I'm doing so well. In the roughs he's known as Wax, but when he returns to Luthadel he is known as Lord Waxilium. I can't say it, I'm just gonna move on. And also I just wanted to mention that Brandon Sanderson video, because it was so long and it had so much information in it, it was actually one of the few videos that I had to do reshoots for, and watching it back, I watched it recently, you'll probably notice that some things might look a little bit different if I'm talking to you, because I was shuffling it around in an edit and I knew that certain things that didn't match up, and I needed to go back and reshoot things to basically fill the gaps in, and one of them is I forgot to actually mention one of the books in the video, so I actually had to go back and refilm a section when I'm introducing books that I'm going to hold up in the order that you need to read them in, because that's kind of a key part of why I made the video, so I don't know how I managed to forget one even though I wrote a script, but that script was several thousand words long and I had to condense that script as well into dot points. So it's a lot of work going in behind the scenes and it can seem really daunting, but I really like both editing and filming and also scripting as well. I find the whole process really enjoyable, so if it's something that intimidates you, maybe you'll enjoy one part of the process more than the other, so you don't really need to be too intimidated. It's just I wanted to put all the cards on the table so you know exactly what you're getting into, because it takes more time than you realize. I also just quickly wanted to mention my introduction for my videos, and I actually didn't do that myself, Dave did it. He's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to video production, and he actually animated it himself, so he also recorded some sound for it too. He just did it in Adobe Animate, and he strummed some guitar chords to make it as well, and he shoved it all together and made a really pretty introduction for me, which is lovely, and I put it on all of my videos. So you don't really need to have an introduction, but I really like having one, and I feel like it really sets up the brand that you have for your channel. So I would recommend having one, but if you can't make one and you don't know how to animate like me, and you don't have a partner that knows how to animate, then it's not something that you need, but it's definitely something that is encouraged, and I do get a lot of comments saying that they love it, so I would encourage you to make one if you can. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is making a thumbnail and dropping books, because I always tend to forget to make a thumbnail while I'm filming a video, and then when I'm watching the footage back in editing and I'm going, oh crap, I forgot to make a thumbnail, I have to pick a still in the full footage that I've edited. It's harder than you imagine to pick a still that looks good, because you don't smile when you're normally talking, and if you do, it might be out of focus, or you might not be looking directly down the barrel of the camera, so you're looking off to the side, or you're doing something weird. And so I would try and encourage you to remember to take a thumbnail while you're filming, especially if you're filming something like a book haul and then you get to editing and like, oh, I forgot to hold up all of the books that I bought, because that would have been a great thumbnail. So I often forget to do that, and there are a couple of times when that's actually worked in my favor, and I've actually made a funny face in the video and it works better as a thumbnail because it's funnier than normal. But I like to remember when I'm filming to actually take a thumbnail, because it's just so much easier, if I'm being honest. I do often have this problem as well of dropping books. Being a booktuber is a struggle. You've got to hold a lot of things at the same time, and that doesn't often work in my favor, as you will come to see.
No. Oh god.
The Stormlight Archive series, which, oh, it's falling. And sometimes when I'm filming, Dave actually sits behind the camera and helps me out, and he actually makes sure that all of my sound is working and that it doesn't stuff up and that the camera doesn't turn itself off. And then just before I wrap up this video, I have 3 last tips for you if you want to actually become a booktuber or a YouTuber yourself. My first tip is just give it a try. Literally just sit down in front of a camera, repeat yourself as many times as you want, because it doesn't really matter, because editing makes you look good and you can change whatever you want after you've filmed it. I cut out a lot of space and dead space when I'm not saying anything or whether I'm reading a blurb, and I cut out a lot of my ahs and ums as well to make things seem more concise and a lot more clear. So I definitely sound better in edited videos, so that is something that you can definitely achieve after you've filmed your footage and you are in editing. You can make it whatever you want it to be. Number 2 is that I definitely recommend scripting your videos before you start. I can kind of do a book haul now without scripting anything, but I still find it handy to do a script for each of my videos, mostly because it keeps me on track and I remember where I have to go next, even if I don't stick to it entirely. At the very beginning of filming my videos for my channel, which was about a year ago now, I did script a lot and I stuck very hard to that script, because I found that I repeat myself a lot and I say stupid stuff, and my mouth tends to form words that I don't want it to when my brain is wanting me to go in one direction and my mouth just goes whenever direction it wants to. So if you have a script, it kind of cuts that off to a certain extent, and it helps you focus, and it helps you stop saying the same adjectives all the time or saying the same phrases all the time, because we're so used to the things that we say a lot that we don't notice we're doing it until we're in editing and we're like, ugh, I wish I said that differently. So a script definitely helps, and I would definitely recommend putting dot points in the script rather than paragraphs of text, because paragraphs of text are really hard to read when you're on the fly, and a dot point list is a lot easier to refer to. So it doesn't have to be in big sentences, it can just be in small dot points with little words, and it's easy to remember, it's easy to reference, and it's easy to film and talk. And number 3 is, if you can, definitely get some good equipment. I would recommend a good microphone and a good camera if you can afford it, but I just started on my iPhone. If you have a good mic that you can plug into the iPhone, that is definitely recommended. I use that for a lot of my vlogs, and it just gives you a little bit more flexibility with sound. And when it comes to editing that sound, I find it a lot easier if I've got a microphone as well. It's given me a little bit more versatility, and it helps me cut out some of the background noise that's going on around me. Even when I'm filming in this setup and I'm in Dave's room with his shelf behind me and his camera and his gear, gear. It's better if there's no background noise. Someone might be walking through the house or doing some housework or talking on the phone, and having this microphone and this camera set up together has really helped kind of streamline the sound so that I'm not stressed in editing, because I'm trying to figure out a way to blend stuff out of the background and focus on my words. So some good gear is recommended. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it, so just use what you've got, but I would try for natural light as well, and a clear sound and a clear image. Also, if you wanted a technical video on more of the nitty-gritty software and gear that I actually use, definitely let me know, because I'd be happy to make that for you. Dave can definitely help me because I don't have all of the knowledge myself, and it's been really handy having someone else that I can refer to and really help me out. So if you want to know what the gear I use is, please let me know and I will definitely get back to you and let you know as well. And there you go, that is everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight and a little bit of a laugh. Let me know if you've started your channel recently. Let me know what you're currently reading as well. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'd love to reply to you, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.